观众朋友们，大家好，欢迎大家收看由中国体育打造的世界杯球星访谈节目《逐梦卡塔尔》。今天做客我们节目的是英格兰足球名宿罗比福勒。那么，罗比福勒作为前利物浦的一名球员，整个职业生涯有一个霸气的外号叫做“上帝”，可见他在球迷心目当中的地位。并且，罗比福勒作为一名前锋，到现在在他身上还保持着一项记录，那就是最快的帽子戏法。在同一场比赛当中，在第一粒进球和第三粒进球之间只相差了4分30秒。不过可惜的是，作为英格兰的一代英才，罗比福勒在98年和02年的2届世界杯都因伤遗憾错过了想想，如果那2届的世界杯，如果场上有阿兰·希勒和罗比福勒，或者是有欧文和福勒之间的组合的话，想必英格兰的成绩应该完全不同。那今天呢，我们就邀请罗比福勒一起来跟我们聊一聊他眼里的世界杯。好的，你好，福勒先生，很高兴能够采访到您，非常荣幸，跟我们的中国球迷打个招呼吧。
How are you all? Okay, very, very nice to see you all. Yeah, well, I mean, at the minute I'm currently on holiday, just enjoying the World Cup.
好的，那我们先来聊聊英格兰队哈。
I think England have been very good actually. I think certainly the first game it was a convincing performance. USA not so much, but they never lost a game. But against Wales, I was confident they would go into the game and win it, and obviously qualify, which they have done. So I think it was just a thoroughly professional performance. Really, really good. I think when the initial group came out that they were in, I thought England would qualify, and I thought they would qualify.
你觉得哪位球员是阵中表现最好的球员？
Yeah, no, I think the best player who's probably stood out more than anyone is probably Jude Bellingham. For a young lad who's probably playing, at the top of his game right now. He's, as I say, he's 19 years old, and he's been fantastic. It's his first World Cup. He looks like he's been playing the game for a long, long time. He looks like an experienced player. He has the drive and the energy to, to sort of work his way into the team. I think he's probably been one of England's standout players. I think if you look at the form of Marcus Rashford when he's came in, he's obviously scored goals, and he's looked good as well. But I think England have been solid all over. Unbelievable performances, but the one who probably stands out is maybe Jude Bellingham.
那有没有哪个球员让你觉得表现没有达到你的预期？
It's a tough question actually because I think they've all performed. If anyone hasn't performed, it's maybe the keeper because he hasn't had a lot to do.
那作为一个传奇的锋线您怎么评价这一届世界杯当中英格兰的这个锋线的情况？
I think this is probably one of England's strengths. In all honesty, I know when you think of football and you think of great strikers, I know predominantly we have Harry Kane as a number 9. Obviously, but formations dictate, what player plays where, and England do play with that central striker in Harry Kane. But I think we're blessed with the players around him as well. You've got Saka on the one side. And you've got obviously Rashford, Foden, and they can come in and change games as well. So obviously Raheem Sterling started the tournament, but I think we're blessed with a little bit of pace. And obviously Rashford scored a goal. Sterling scored a goal, and Foden's now scored a goal. So I think the attacking 3 players, whoever plays in those positions, are our strengths. They're England's strengths.
那索斯盖特也是您曾经的队友那么如何评价他的执教水平，并且他的到来让这个英格兰队有哪些变化和进步？
Well, there's no doubt they have improved because if you look at the last tournament, the World Cup, last World Cup, we got to the semi-finals, got to the European Championship final. So I think there's been a steady progression with Gareth Southgate. I think Gareth Southgate is a coach who leaves nothing, unturned. I think he's very, very diplomatic in terms of how he speaks. He's very professional, and what we say over he's very FA. He says all the right things and he does all the right things. But from a coaching point of view, I think it's hard to argue with his record. He's England's most. He's been England's best manager in major tournaments. I think he's won the most games out of any manager, and that in itself says something. okay, he might not be as flamboyant as some of the the other international matches, but we all know it's not about how flamboyant you are. It is about getting results, and England are getting results, and obviously the records prove that.
那么在过去的这几年里英格兰的这个表现总是没有能够很好的达到球迷的预期。您觉得是球迷太苛刻了，还是说这样的一支英格兰队是可以有提升的空间的？
I think there's always room for improvement. I don't think any team, is unbelievably better than anyone else. I think with England, of course, everyone always mentions the Premier League, and we know how good the Premier League is. So the expectation levels from an England fan and from an England supporter is always going to be high. We know that. But look, there's no defined right to win anything. You've got to go out there, you've got to pick the right team. The manager has to pick the best side, what he thinks will win the game. And we haven't done that in the past. And that's not relatively down to England. That's down to other nations. Other nations have been very, very good. So if you think of the performances lately of certainly the European teams, i.e. your Germans, the Spanish team, the French team, and even Netherlands now. Netherlands are not a bad side, but there's some very, very good teams, certainly in European football. And obviously on the international stage, you've got the Argentinas, you've got the Brazils, and a few other teams. So are England better than all them? Potentially, but they don't show them maybe the consistency that the top sides do. So expectation levels need to be real. People need to understand that we aren't the best at times, but there's no doubt that the powers that be and certainly the manager are trying to get the best results they can. But I don't think any England fan who's in the know thinks that you've got to define right and yes, we will win the World Cup, because it doesn't work like that. You've got to be out there. You've got to play well. You've got to everything. All these stars need to align, and it's tough. Winning World Cups is probably the toughest thing for a professional footballer to do. But England have started off the right way. They've had good results. They've had good performances. That they played, ran, totally off the park. USA was an incredibly tough game, but they never lost it. And Wales was comfortable. But that is the problem that we have. It's very rare that every player reaches that peak at that particular time. At that same time. So it's going to be tough.
其实在本次的世界杯上，亚洲球队还是有很多的高光表现的所以您如何评价亚洲球队在本次世界杯上的表现？
Well, I think I've enjoyed a few games now. If you go back as far as I know Australia, Oceania, but obviously they've gone through the Asian group. So Australia have been good. They've been professional. They've got results there into the next round. I was very impressed with Saudi Arabia in the first game against Argentina. A thoroughly professional job. Now you look at South Korea. Probably the best performance I've seen so far was the Japanese team in the second half. Against Germany. Obviously losing. Obviously the 2-1 win. But that performance in the second half was very, very good, and it was a shame that they couldn't take that into other games. But what you've got to remember is the Asian teams are coming up against some real powerhouses in European football, powerhouses of South American football. So it's always going to be tough. But we know with Asian teams over the years and following the Asian Cup. In itself, we know that the Asian teams are very, very strong. And I spoke before about on any given day, England can beat anyone. But I think the Asian teams in the past have proven, if you look at the World Cup history, the Asian teams have done remarkably well. At any given time, anyone can beat anyone, and I think that's been proven. You're probably a little bit disappointed with Iran, for being the highest ranked Asian team. Coming into the tournament, they've probably been the disappointment, if you like. But I've enjoyed. I enjoy watching Asian football. I think technically they're very, very good.
这个是第一次在北半球的冬季举行的一届世界杯那对于球员来说，肯定要从这个联赛无缝衔接到世界杯。那对于这样的情况，您怎么评价？
The time of the World Cup has been strange. It's obviously mid-season for a lot of the European leagues. so it's probably not been ideal. But look, it's a World Cup and we've known about it for years, so it was up to the relevant FAs at that particular country to make sure their teams are prepared, let's enjoy it. It's there now, and the heat is a factor, as I've said, for the players, but it's the World Cup. You adapt. This is why the best teams win World Cups, because they adapt to whatever situations are put in front of them.
正如你所说，并且在这届世界杯当中啊，这个很多球员都出现了这个伤病的情况。您觉得跟这个比较紧密的赛程相关吗？球员们又要踢联赛，又要踢这个，比如说欧冠，还同时要备战国家队的比赛。
Yeah, look, as I said, it's not been ideal, but it's a World Cup. We know what it's about. We know that you're going to play lots of games leading up to it. But look, it's a case of it was probably the only time we can do it. It was probably the only time that the World Cup can fit into a schedule. So we've had to work around it, and it is what it is. You adapt. You make it what it is. I've no doubt that players have been very unfortunate by missing the World Cup because of obviously injuries. But if you think of any World Cup over the years, whether it be in France, whether it be in England, whether it be in South America, players always get injured. I mean, I missed the World Cup in France in '98 because I'd done my knee. I had an ACL operation, so unfortunately I missed that. But regardless of where it is and when it is, that's what happens. Some players are very, very unfortunately going to get injured and not make it. So, it is one of those things.
如何评价 VAR 在本届世界杯上的使用？比如说厄瓜多尔和卡塔尔队的比赛当中，有一个球就是被裁判判了越位，显然是一个误判哈。所以关于这个话题，我们也跟很多球员都谈过，比如说亨利、迪瓦尔多，他们都说 VAR 虽然是技术，但毕竟还是要用人去利用技术来解释比赛规则。所以您怎么看？
Yeah, in all fairness, I'm not a massive fan of VAR because I think what you're doing is you're obviously changing the game. So you've just mentioned it yourself. I think if you sort of start gauging games through computers, and then obviously all of a sudden someone else has an opinion over what can happen, then I think it's wrong. I think it slows the game down. I mean, you look at certainly the France goal against Tunisia. I mean, that was a VAR. The referee had blew the whistle to start the match, and then all of a sudden the game had ended, and then there was a VAR review. So I'm not a massive fan of it. Look, it is what it is. I think we adapt and we accept it. But I think there's lots and lots of work to be done with it. I think the only help we should be getting really is from the goal line technology. If the ball crosses the line, then I think then we get the goal line technology. But the VAR for me is something that it's not worked as far as I can see. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not a huge fan. I know I'm not the only one who thinks this way. I think football should be played on a pitch, and the referee does have a hard job. We know that. Yeah, if they are going to use VAR, I think we as supporters should find out what they're actually talking about. So, whether it's the VAR officials in the studio talking about why a goal has been disallowed or why this goal has been counted, then I think we as supporters should be privy to that conversation.
那么您怎么评价这个赛季在英超赛场上利物浦的到现在为止的表现？
Yeah, very stop-start. I think Liverpool, and we all know Liverpool are a team who thrive on energy, commitment and drive, and they've not had that this year. I think if we're being honest, but Liverpool are all about energy and momentum, and they haven't got going. Obviously with the unfortunate passing of the Queen in England, a lot of the games were cancelled. So Liverpool didn't have a run of games where they could actually find that momentum. Prior to the World Cup, they won 2 very good games, and they looked like they were getting back to the team that we've seen in the past. There's Liverpool have 7 players in the World Cup, so everyone else is back home, back in Liverpool, getting prepared for life in the Premier League after this World Cup. So I think Liverpool will be strong in the second part of the season. I think they are predominantly strong. I can't wait for the season to get going again. Kicks off on Boxing Day on the 26th of December, back in the UK, the Premier League. So I think that lots of Liverpool fans are looking forward to that, to seeing how much they can they can push on and certainly get into those positions in the top four in the Premier League, because I think Liverpool as a club they do need to qualify for the Champions League, and I think they will. I think that we'll see a very strong team performance in the second part of the Premier League.
那您如何评价努涅斯在本次英超和世界杯上的不同的表现？
Yeah, well, the World Cup's been tough because obviously Uruguay haven't been the team that we've seen. I think he is. Darwin Núñez is a very raw player. Now, what I mean by that is I think he's very unorthodox. He's at times he looks unbelievably brilliant. Then other times he looks as though he's got someone else's feet on. So I think he will score goals. I think he's proven that he will score goals. I think as a Liverpool fan watching him, I think he gives everything, and I think that's what you want to see. You want to see players going on a pitch. You want to see him try that little bit harder and run that little bit more. And his performance like that have been very good for Liverpool. More goals for Liverpool because I mentioned before about Liverpool qualifying for the Champions League. You need players like Darwin Núñez to start scoring goals at a very regular occurrence, and I'm sure he can do that.
您之前在利物浦被称之为上帝球迷这么称呼您，所以您认为现在这支利物浦阵中谁可以成为这个上帝？
Well, I mean, I must stress, it is a nickname. It's not something I call myself, but it's a good nickname. And I mean, it just shows that I've done something right in my career, and it is everything has seemed to touch it seemed to work in everyone's favour. But I think if you're looking at nicknames now for the current players, I think you've got to look at Mo Salah for his performances and as the goals he scored. I think he's been a phenomenal player. He really has been for Liverpool. Scored goals. He's been pivotal in what Liverpool are right now. The goals, the performances, the trophies that they've won. It's not all down to Mo Salah, but he's definitely been a big help.
其实我还得称之您为富勒先生因为您除了是一个非常成功的球员之外，还是一个房地产投资人，并且还有自己的公司，所以在商业投资领域非常成功。那未来您会不会考虑，比如说涉及足球方面的投资，还是说会继续把更多的精力放在足球的执教上？
Yeah, I think where I'm at right now, during my playing career, of course, I was invested in lots, and a lot of players do that. But my primary goal now, my focus is to get back into football management. I can't wait to get in there because I've got a lot to give. Wherever I go, they know that they will get someone who will work extremely hard to make that club successful. So that's what I've always been like in my career. I always wanted to be the best. I've always tried to be the best. I always worked hard. And right now, my goal and my primary focus is to get back into football management. And everyone what I can do because I have got a lot to give, and I believe I will be a very top coach in the.
之前你也来过很多次中国了对于中国你有什么样的印象？
Yeah, you know what, I have many times, and it's a place that, in all honesty, I do love going to. I mean, it's totally different culture-wise than the UK, but I think what I've done, over the years by adapting to cultures and by adapting to different countries in terms of what I've done, I've massively enjoyed it. I've always got on certainly with the Chinese people. I know there's lots and lots of Liverpool fans over there, and everyone remembers me and recognises me from my Liverpool days. So whenever I have gone to China, the warmth and the friendliness that I've felt has been extraordinary. And yes, I mean, I can't wait to go back, and I've no doubt in the future I will go back many times. Like I said, if you enjoy going to a place, then you want to visit many times, and I've no doubt I will be back in China soon.
希望我们也可以尽快的在中国和您见面也希望您在接受我们采访之后，下一次见面的时候来到中国，然后来品尝中国的美食。
Oh yeah, well I do like my Chinese food. I do like that, and yes, of course. I mean, I'd love to go over to China, and I mean, likewise, if there's any opportunities that come my way about certainly coaching and managing in China, then I'm certainly going to be interested because I believe I can help the football grow, and I believe I can I can better any team. So if any opportunities do come my way, then without a shadow, I would love to go over to China.
好的，非常感谢福勒先生可以接受我们的采访哈，非常感谢，非常感谢，再见，再见，希望可以下次可以面对面的采访到您。
My pleasure. Thanks very much.
好的，在罗比福勒的职业生涯末期，他也是到澳大利亚联赛效力哈，也作为应该是较早的一批在职业生涯末期到外联赛效力的球员，把更加先进的打法带去到了世界各地。那么罗比福勒作为一个比较有个性，甚至在职业生涯期间有一些争议的球员，在本次的采访当中，也让我们看到了他更为沉稳的一面。正希望像他说的那样，接下来他可以以一个教练的身份再次回归到绿茵场上。好的，非常感谢大家收看我们本期的节目，让我们下期再会。